Paulie Malignaggi's in the house. What's up, man?
My issue is this. Look at Gervonta Davis' resume. Do you recognize a Hall of Famer on that resume? Have you ever seen an almost 30-year-old fighter who's been on pay-per-view for years have no Hall of Famers on his resume, have no Olympians on his resume?
He's one of the first men in history to call his own timeout in the middle of a boxing match. Does Shakur want that fight with Tank, though?
I think Shakur wants that fight. I think his Tank wasn't one of the fight. I think the MMA model is better in terms of it forces fights. But the MMA model is a little bit tricky too. Because it's a league and because you don't have the option to take other offers, you can get a pig like Dana White who underpays everybody. The biggest stars in MMA should be making $30 million a fight.
Turkey is taking Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Teofimo, and they're going to do a show in the middle of Times Square. The heavyweight bare knuckle boxing world champion.
I had a couple street fight episodes that happened, and these two guys, they didn't know who they were. The one who comes up and just gets girls handful of, and she's like yells at him like you. So Mike and Roy are instantly like, hey, leave, get your hands off of her. And the dudes are like nodding their head, and they obviously have no idea who we are, but they're like talking to us now, kind of. So they leave her alone, and we start getting in the parking lot. Well, those dudes decide to slow drive up, and they stopped their car right behind ours. It was just us three, so like we couldn't get out. Like they trapped us in, and they left their car like that, and they got out.
I saw the whole Tank fight, Tank versus Roach. I thought Roach was very skilled defensively, countering in the beginning. The rounds were very close in the first 6. In boxing, in a 12-round match, they really open up in the last 6 rounds. They started going for each other's heads, and Tank got hit with some shots. He showed his chin. He doesn't punch a lot ever, and when he does let his hands go, they look really good. And his percentages are better because he's not just throwing missing shots all the time. He's very careful about what he chooses to throw. So his percentages are better than everyone he fights, which is kind of what made it a draw. But then it's kind of like he wasn't in it mentally like he normally is. And even as he was fighting, I was thinking about him saying how he can't wait to get away from boxing and he wants out of this. No one's with him. And I kind of thought about that as he was going through the fight, because then he pulls this little stunt and he didn't even really get hit. The glove just kind of brushes him, and he backs up and he takes a knee because he's got grease in his eyes from his hair. So he's goes in the corner and he's like, give me the damn towel. And he's rubbing his eyes with the gloves on with the towel to get the grease out of his eyes. It was burning him, and the ref didn't take a point. He warned him, hey, I'm going to have to take a point you do this. And Roach was standing there at the end with his baby, holding his child, and it was a moral victory for Roach for sure. And, to go to a draw, and then when they called it a draw, Tank was just in the corner holding the ropes with his head down, and he just stayed there for a while holding his head down like he felt the weight of his double O go.
Yeah, I saw that clip. Did you see the tweet from Turk Ali?
I didn't. What did Turkey say?
Bro, literally posted a picture of the ref with his eyes, his eyes kind of go out the other way. They're not cross-eyed, they're the other way, right?
He didn't see that knee?
Bro, and he literally posted you can't, obviously he didn't see the knee or something. I had to check it 3 times to make sure it was really Turk. I was like, no way did he post this.
Dude, Alashiki broke in and is not messing around.
Nah.
He's got some power in the game. Bro, you should have had me at your house when you brought me to Destin and been walking me through the house holding my hand, bro. We're releasing dirty boxing. Come with me, Michael. Come with me. Hold my hand. Hilarious.
Yeah, so funny.
What's up, Matt?
Hey, boys. Sorry, I was having trouble getting in here. I was on time. But dude, I think his name's Steve Willis, the boxing ref you're
Yup.
talking about. He's the super viral one who's like always into it. You've probably seen a clip 1,000 times where
He's a great ref.
Yeah, he usually is. Yeah. That was odd.
It was such a confusing moment for everyone involved, and like there's an A side, you know?
Yep.
And Tank is such a talent. It was hard to take anything away from him, and it was such a confusing moment. You know, like the A side really runs boxing, and now they're like, so they're gonna set up the rematch.
Yeah. Do you think any of that had to do Tank's performance with him kind of already anticipating riding off into the sunset after that one?
I was mentioning that to Josh, that as I saw that fight play out, I'm like, Tank doesn't seem to be in it. Now, he never throws the most punches, and it's why his percentages are so high. He does land, and they're significant when he does. But Roach was on point defensively, countering, moving his feet, head moving. So, you know, it was a great fight. To be honest, I watched it, but like, it's just kind of where Tank needed it. It might have been something he needed to happen because he felt the pressure of his double O's coming off his record when they announced a draw. And now Roach was big compared to Tank, in my opinion. He was huge, and Tank showed skill, but it's like Tank had nothing to work for. He was on top of the game. He was the best, most fun boxing fighter to watch, and he needed something. And now I'm excited to watch the rematch to see if he lit a fire under his butt and is going to go for the kill.
100%.
So, Icebags, what is the latest on Dirty Boxing? Let's talk about it.
So, obviously, this episode won't be aired prior to all this stuff coming out. But I know Malky's going to be announcing it tomorrow on Ariel Helwani. Fight's going to be March 22nd. Banger card, banger environment at the hangar in Coconut Grove. Mac, you probably haven't seen this yet. It's a 20,000 square foot like airplane hangar on the water on a marina. It's going to be out of this world, dude. So we got one of the top producers in the country producing the show as well. So online is going to look great. The card is really good. This will be out. Yoel's leading the card before he goes into GFL. So obviously we'll probably, I don't know. I mean, maybe Yoel gets knocked out. We'll see. But we got a lot of good fighters on there. I don't want to go too deep into the card, just in case anybody backs out prior to.
Right. Bad luck.
Yeah, there's a lot of good fighters on the card. And where last time I think we had 8 fights, we've got 12 right now, scheduled 12 fights, which is a huge card.
Dana White does that right before or the day before or the day of. He's like, what's up, everybody? If you don't know, now you know. There's some fights on the card. If you didn't know about, I want to tell you about them right now. Maybe I could do something like that. Me and AJ roll it out with the marker board or something. Who knows?
So here's the thing. Mike is also going to be announcing.
Like Bruce Buffer announcing?
No, like on the
commentating.
Yes.
Let's go.
Commentating.
Keep me busy this time. I'm going to be right there ringside getting some blood on me.
Yeah. I don't want to announce it, but it's actually a very famous comedian that's also going to be with Mike, which should put up. And so we've got really a play-by-play guy that works hard in the Miami area with some of the big teams there, and then with Mike, and then this comedian. So it should be a killer announcing crew.
We'll announce some new partners on the business side, and we'll have some great celebs there to witness the event and bring us some attention to Dirty Boxing and all the fighters involved. I think they're going to get to see a great show.
Yeah, we've got a huge announcement on a new co-owner. that's going to come up. Obviously, we'll save that till we make it formal. But
Yeah, just a little teaser.
Just a little teaser here for you. But that's going to be big. Yeah, it's going to be a banger. So we were talking about this, Max. So I was just overlooking the I was just looking over the card again.
Can I stack onto your point before we move on real quick? It was funny because kind of sank in with my girlfriend. She goes, "Oh wait," she has it written on her calendar that I'm going out to, to see the card, work the card with Dirty Boxing, and she goes, "Well, if you're going to that." She's been dying to see a bare knuckle card, and they came to Albuquerque. So okay, that's fair. So I took her to that. Bro, Mike, I love bare knuckle. Ice Bags, you've talked about your first time witness that with your wife, and she even bro.
Dodson versus Yo.
Bro. Dude, like these guys, I was getting pictures with them and man, just watching that brutality up close. Like I don't think a single fight maybe one made it out of like the second round. I mean, it was all finishes, and they did 12 fights in like 3.5 hours in this small little place. Just a bunch of Brocanos, bro, chilling and drinking beers. And then a fight broke out. It was epic. I only caught half of it, but they're like 9 people arrested. It was dope. So, Mike, you are a savage, man. My girlfriend was just standing there recording every single fight. Dude, her manager from Walmart was one of the guys on the card. She was losing her mind. So that was awesome. But obviously, dude, Dirty Boxing in a hanger is going to be elite, man. I cannot wait, guys. Let's kick some ass.
It's gonna be killer. So this is what I was talking about, Mike, with Mike before you got on. Was we've got some big heavyweights on this DBX card.
Bigger than 260?
Big boys, right? I mean, what Yoel's like 245, right? But it looks like he's I don't know. He could be 280 in probably a month. Yeah, there's some big dudes on this card, right? But I was talking to AJ, our matchmaker, and I just happened to call him right before I got this fresh haircut today, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I was like, yo, show me the card. Let's talk about it. And I was like, we've got I think 3 heavyweight fights. And I was like, you know what? Maybe DBX is like the renaissance of like the heavyweight because it's just purely stand and bang. You got small gloves on, right? If you look back, was there any more fun era than the Holyfield, Tyson, all those big heavyweights in boxing? There probably wasn't, to me, as an old school guy, there probably wasn't a better era in combat sports. That gap, there was a 15-year gap where nobody gave a shit about heavyweights. And then now it's kind of come back a little bit, right?
The
you
4.
Fury and Usyk and Anthony
Ruiz.
Joshua and all these guys, Deontay Wilder. But even most of those fights don't end in finishes. You know what I mean? And then now if you look at UFC, I'm not a fan at all of the heavyweight division because everybody's become like grapplers, right? They've learned to wrestle, they've learned to grapple, they're doing jiu-jitsu. And it's I don't want to watch 260-pound guys at the highest level dry hump each other on the ground. I want to watch them bang until somebody falls down. And I feel like DBX could be the renaissance there for heavyweights.
Or you get 2 grapplers throwing jabs at each other for 15 minutes, trying to land a strike because neither wants to be the one on their back going through the grappling scenarios.
Well, I mean, heavyweight had some epic grapplers in history, like Frank Mir, bro. The way he caught Brock Lesnar after Brock had him up, bro. I forget, knee bar or whatever from a spinning. It was so dope. You have Olenek, who's fighting in bare knuckle, oddly enough. Most submissions ever, bro. But eliminate that. Besides the specialists in heavyweight MMA, they just lay on top of each other. They don't have to do much, and then it just becomes, hey, I'm gonna hold you and I'm gonna fall over and you're gonna go with me. And that sloppy, annoying as make them stand up, make them bang, and that's when we get KOs. So I agree with you, Bags.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Like I said, Mike, we already know you're a savage, but until you see BKFC up close like that, what the are you guys doing, dude? Who are you, Mike? What the are you made of, dog?
Next level savagery,
mad props.
brother. I'm made of platinum.
Mm-hmm.
One of the strongest conductors in the world and very expensive as well. Like I am very expensive. And, Dirty Boxing's looking to get me on a card this year. That's what our CEO was talking about earlier.
I'm dying for a Mike Perry fight, dude. We need you back in there, bro.
I'm telling you, man. Me too.
I got a quick question for you guys, if I could spin it a little bit. The fight card this weekend was pretty good. But the eye poke, Manel Kape, if you saw that,
Which one?
the combo, the two piece,
The rake, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what
They got to fix it, dude. They have to fix it.
do your guys' gloves
Curled.
That's what I was
Curled.
wondering. Okay,
But they're still 4 ounce, right?
Yeah.
But it curls over.
but that was like the Pride one.
Chael, literally right after Chael went on a rant, he's like, curl the gloves over their fingers. Like, there's an easy solution to this. And that's exactly the whole reason we did this, right? When we started Dirty Boxing, was like, we have to avoid the eye pokes because it slows down the fight. It throws, obviously with Cejudo, it throws what he thought would have been a no contest, right? It puts those fights in that kind of parameter where it's questionable. Why? Or you just have to get really good at poking people in the eyes, like John.
Yeah. John, DC got pretty good at it. Yeah.
Kape making noise over there. Kape is making noise. He's like, 5-4 or something in the UFC. I was walking 18 miles with Philly Fresh. We were watching some of the UFC fights on ESPN, and I was talking about Kape's already getting a main event slot, and Phil was like, "Oh yeah, he's like 5-4, but he's making noise. He's talking his trash." And I guess he's got a big audience paying attention to him.
Well, he comes from Ryzen like Yuri. He's a super flashy striker. He doesn't like grappling at all. He just goes out there and throws. The big problem is a bunch of fight cancellations. And then obviously this, like where he looked good. But what are you doing with double finger, face holes, man? I don't know what the
Did you guys see? We got our guest here today. We could bring him on, man. I was gonna ask if you guys saw Dillon Danis get slapped by KSI today.
Finally, someone.
What?
Yeah, Dillon, KSI slapped Dillon pretty good. It was a good loud sound, and they'll be fighting here soon. And GFL announces Dillon Danis versus Tony Ferguson.
I want to see this, but could we not have gotten Tony Ferguson against Dillon like in Tony's prime?
At what weight?
Watch Dillon get murdered.
It's got to be 170. They got to be doing 170 because he's not a 155er, and Tony's fought at welterweight. It's got to be. In GFL, probably don't even know yet. They're probably just like, oh, they're gonna meet in the cage and do it. It's got to be welterweight.
Hey, there he is right there.
Yo, what's up? What's happening, guys?
Paulie Malignaggi's in the house. What's up, man?
What's up, Mike? How's it going? Platinum Mike, how's things going, my man?
Hey, very good, man. I appreciate you coming on the show today so we could talk about
thanks for having me on, bro.
Oh, yes, sir. You're very welcome. We want to talk about boxing a lot. I know you're a boxing analyst, and
yeah. I do some bare knuckle commentating with BYB. I do obviously do boxing analyzation, and I fought both.
One of the first big crossovers, one of the only top boxers to step in.
But Austin Trout came in. Austin Trout did it too. Austin Trout came in after me. He did it, and
oh, okay.
Yeah, he did. I think he won a BKFC title.
Yeah, but I remember your fight with.
It got a lot of heat. It got a lot of heat then for that one. That was good. I was it picked up a lot of steam. I think it helped out BKFC a lot. Doing that. I think before that it was kind of fringe, and then I think that promotion was helpful. I think it was a worthwhile investment for them. It was good.
I always love it when I learn something on this show. I heard him say analyzation, and I'm like, that ain't a word. I'm about to call it out on that. I had to Google it.
Sometimes we just got to make our own words up.
I was like, I'm a dumbass. It is a word.
It doesn't matter if it's a real word as long as people understand it.
If he's an analyst, you can make up a word. You can make up the plural of it.
It's a real word.
Yeah.
So Paulie, now that we got you on, and there was just the Tank versus Roach fight, I want to get your thoughts on that fight, and considering your past comments about Tank's padded record, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's one of the things, right? I mean, you're an MMA guy, Mike, and I think that a lot of the beef that MMA people have with boxing is that there's too many different ways you can kind of pave your own road to where you want to go, especially if there's money behind you. And I feel like boxing does this more and more today. Boxing laid its foundation on making great fights, just like MMA has laid its foundation on making great fights. I think that's how you need to, lay your foundation. But I think once the foundation has been laid in boxing for so many years, so many decades, you end up getting greedy people that create these sort of situations for themselves to make a lot of money. And so I think what networks started doing, they started to give promoters their own date. So a promoter would do a contract with a network, right? So now that network is exclusive to that promoter, and that promoter's roster. So that promoter can sort of first of all, a promoter with TV dates is the one you want to sign with, because a promoter without TV dates, you're kind of stuck in limbo in your career, looking for fights, hoping that you can be an opponent for somebody else's superstar. So you got to deal with politics, and it's not really the way you want to go. But if you're with a promoter that has TV dates, now that promoter can kind of build their own stars. They make their own fights. They make their own fights within, and they use the network's budget to do that. So what do they end up doing? Okay, they end up doing like the, the model where, okay, this guy, we're going to make him into a star. And the network is willing to put a lot of money behind the fighter becoming that star. Now, today with technology, you can make a sneaker into a star, dude. You can make this chair into a star. You know what I mean? Like, because technology puts somebody or a product in somebody's face constantly all over the place if you really want to, if you put enough money behind it. So for me, where boxing's mistake happens is that they choose certain people, and sometimes they choose certain people even before they've proven anything. They say, this is going to be our star. And they're sort of kind of milk their way to the top. They'll pay for the right opponents. They'll pay for for example, you'll get a faded superstar who has nothing left. It still costs you money because he's got that reputation. So an average prospect can't afford to fight him because there's not enough money behind them. But somebody with a big network can get all those kind of fighters and kind of pad their record and start building their record. Now you're building a reputation because you're beating name fighters even if they're shot. And so now you get to the point where you reach a top point where you're selling a lot, you're generating a lot of money. Now that promoter has done his job as far as, now I got a product I don't want to lose. And that's the problem with boxing. Now you got the network money that's built up this product. Everybody is invested in this guy not losing. Everybody's invested in this guy continuing to make this money because now he's such a product. Everybody tunes in constantly. You've used all the modern technology to build this product. And now you've got a situation where now we don't want to see this guy lose. And this is where you get to sort of pad records. You get to sort of pick opponents that you want to pick that, I don't want to fight this star because this star, but not only is he tough, but he also might belong to another network. And now that the promoter on the other network doesn't want to lose their star to you without having options. So you know what? They end up not fighting. And so on and so forth. And so this is, in a nutshell, this is kind of, for me, what has ruined boxing. So to go back on what you're saying, back on your original question with Tank Davis, that's the situation, man. For me, you could see the fight on Saturday night, right? First of all, for me, Tank Davis is fighting a minus 1,600 underdog. He was a minus 1,600 favorite. He was a minus 16, and for all you betting heads out there, you know what minus money means. Minus 1,600 as your main event odds is crazy to me, dude. That's crazy, okay? Now, luckily, the undercard on paper was pretty good. What choice do you have? You have to make a good undercard if you got a main event with those kind of odds, right? No, for their sake, all the fights ended up being pretty good. Actually, the underdog in the co-main event ended up winning by a mile, which was crazy. Gary Antoine Russell actually was the underdog, and he ended up winning by a mile. But in the main event, that underdog lived up to the hype. He ended up, overperforming. Lamont Roach, credit to him, all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And it took some politics to keep Davis as champion. But yeah, and this is what you see. I mean, you see referee. You ever see guys getting the referee their own fight? Dude, anybody else takes that knee, you're getting counted, bro. The referee, actually, his instinct, if you watch that, the referee's instinct was to count. If you notice, Steve Willis started counting, and then he looked at the timekeeper outside the ring, wasn't counting, and he stopped counting. You know what I mean? So you get to call your own timeout. Earlier in the fight, if you saw that shoulder barge that Tank did to Roach in the clinch, he didn't get a warning, but Roach's reaction got the warning. I don't know, man. This is the politics we're dealing with. It's frustrating because I came up in boxing, and, I obviously have a lot of love for boxing, and it's changed my life. But you keep doing this, you're looking at short-term money and long-term destruction of a sport, And I know people have been saying it for a long time, like, oh, boxing's, it's an old man sport. It's dying. It never really dies, but you're just killing it by 1,000 cuts, bro. You know what I mean? You're killing it by 1,000 cuts like this.
Is it fair to say it's like Patrick Mahomes? how he gets treated almost.
Yeah. I mean, you look at look at the NFL, for example. Little by little, it's gone to that. Montana got his back broken by Leonard Marshall. You know what I mean? Then you get Brady. They changed some rules for Brady with that tackle below the knees, right? You change a couple of rules for Brady. Now with Mahomes, bro, you might as well make a 2-hand touch. You know what I mean? You can't touch him or his receivers at this point. So you go, and then my issue is records get broken, dude. My issue is record. Now we're talking about something else altogether. We're talking different. I hate seeing the guys I grew up with having their records broken by guys who have an easier path to that record breaking. But yeah, that's basically in a nutshell. Yeah, it's a good analogy, man.
Well, considering, Tank had to go through that, I felt like he felt the pressure of his double zeros coming off of that record when they announced it being a draw. And to me, it did get me excited for the rematch that they're trying to put together between those two. I thought Roach did perform well. I thought it was a great match. Tank's percentages as of not throwing a lot, and when he does throw, they can be significant. It made me interested to see the rematch between the two, and I get that he's such a powerful force. He's one of the first men in history to call his own timeout in the middle of a boxing match.
I don't know if that's good or bad, though, Mike. I don't know if that's a precedent you want to be the guy setting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure. So, first in history, but hopefully the last in history. I'll be honest with you.
I mean, he's been talking about he can't wait to get away from boxing. He's tired of it. This and that. He has no challenges. And now I'm excited to see that fire.
But that's what I'm saying, Mike. There's like 8 to 10 lightweights who probably beat Lamont Roach. He went and searched lower weight class, a solid guy. Don't get me wrong. Let me tell you about a little bit about Lamont Roach.
Roach was big.
Solid perennial contender, Lamont Roach, but at 130 pounds, not at 135. But he's been a perennial contender for like a decade, only just finally won a world championship. So it's not like he had greatness written all over him. Now, having said that, he performed here, bro. He came up and probably gave his career best performance. But there's a reason he was minus 1,600 to start, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you was a smaller guy, had already fought for a championship earlier in his career, had lost, had sort of been a fringe perennial contender, but hadn't been able to get over the hump. Finally gets over the hump, beats a champion who was, pretty decent, but wasn't like a great champion, and manages to win a 130-pound world title. And what happens? This guy makes him a pay-per-view opponent. You know what I mean? 1 weight class down, a guy who's sort of been fringe contender status, finally just wins the title. You bring him up as an opponent. Bro, you got a lightweights that, you're dying. People are dying to see you fight Gervonta Davis. Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda, Morataya, Keyshawn Davis is great. He just won a title. Even Tevin Farmer, who's an ex-champion who a lot of people look at his fate, it still has performed very well.
Does Shakur want that fight with Tank, though?
I think Shakur wants that fight. I think his Tank wasn't wanting the fight. For me,
felt like he wasn't ready for that fight. He wanted to take more time before he got
I think Shakur had a hand surgery. Obviously that's going to take. And Shakur unfortunately has a lot of hand issues. He just hurt his hand again in the fight against Padley on the Bitterby of Bivol card. So that's sort of a shame because that's something I went through very early in my career as well. I've had 4 different surgeries on my right hand, and I had a lot of hand breaking issues. And it can stall you. It can be frustrating, and it can do a lot of that. And sometimes it makes you a not very exciting fighter because you end up having to box in a little bit of a safer way in order to preserve your hands. But for me personally, Shakur and Keyshawn are goods. They're the goods. And they're both, ironically, Olympic silver medalists. You know what I mean? So they've got the pedigree in the amateurs. They're very good professionals. But I don't think they're the only guys that would give Gervonta Davis a tough fight or beat him. Personally, my issue is this. Look at Gervonta Davis's resume. Do you recognize a Hall of Famer on that resume? Have you ever seen an almost 30-year-old fighter who's been on pay-per-view for years have no Hall of Famers on his resume, have no Olympians on his resume? This is crazy, bro. I mean, for me, it's crazy. Like, look at Oscar De La Hoya by the time he was 30, resume full of guys like that. You know what I mean? Like, dude, by the time I was 30, I fought several Olympians, 2 future Hall of Famers. Bro, yeah, and you know what? You know what happens? You put yourself at risk to lose, and you get beat sometimes. You know what I mean? But I mean, you gotta have a record where you can say you can hang there. Win or lose, that you show you're of that level. I don't know. That's why I'm saying you manufacture stars today, and it's a bit frustrating because the sport has so much potential when you make these matchups. It just you need to do it now. Of course, now you got this rivalry, and I'm looking forward to a rematch. Mike, you said you're looking forward to a rematch. Yeah, it's great, but you've built it up on accident. This wasn't supposed to be that kind of fight. It just Lamont came in and performed, you know, and that's credit to him. He fought a brilliant game plan. He was always a good IQ fighter. I always felt that. I didn't think he had the physical natural gifts, but he was always a solid IQ fighter and executed a very, very good game plan, and good on him.
So when you talk about the problems with boxing, it made me think of, you know, Canelo and Benavidez, who we're not seeing fight, but then Turkey Alashiki comes in and he puts together Crawford versus Canelo. What are your thoughts on those two? Because a lot of people wanted to see the Benavidez and Canelo, but we're getting, in my opinion, something even. I mean, Benavidez is incredible, but like to match him with Terrence versus Canelo, I think that's an awesome matchup.
I think it's a matchup, but I think weight classes matter for a reason, Mike. You know, like otherwise, if weight classes didn't matter, you remember, you know, I can go back and tell you about the first UFCs. I'm sure you're old enough to remember them, right? The early UFCs, like those were the. But I mean, they ended up realizing, dude, we kind of need some weight classes, right? I mean, so you can disrespect weight classes and get guys that pay more money and come up and weight and take more chances and whatnot, but ultimately, you know, weight classes exist for a reason, especially over a long period of time, which is a 12-round fight. The bigger size could make a big difference. Now, I don't think Canelo's at his best. I think Benavidez would have run him over like a train, to be honest, and I've said that for years already. I said about 3 years ago he'd never fight Benavidez. I was waiting for the sanctioning bodies to do the right thing and strip Canelo. They never did for not fighting Benavidez. So it's sort of like boxing fans get used to this kind of crap, and then they just take basically the next best thing. You know, the next best thing is, okay, you know, we'll get a star from this lower weight class, we'll make this, and it's intriguing because Crawford's been so dominant at hit the weight class he's fought. Canelo's been such a star at where he's fought, and he's been good. I wouldn't say he's been as dominant as Crawford, but he's been good, and he's been a superstar level of attraction, and we just matched them together. You know, it's sort of a Hollywood-esque fight. Wouldn't say like it's like a Jake Paul type of thing, but it's sort of it's higher level of boxing. But in reality, I mean, you know, I always say this, Mike. If in the 80s you had the technology and the population you have today, mindset, they would have tried to make Ray Leonard against Mike Tyson, which looking back is a moronic fight. You know what I mean? It's different weight classes, star power. But if those two guys were today, they would have tried to make the fight. I feel like we've been dumbed down, and people that are so dumbed down, and now they appreciate stupidity instead of really demanding the best possible fights. Okay, maybe Benavidez doesn't have that star power. Benavidez is a guy who shouldn't have had to move up in weight to get his title fight. He should have been given the chance to fight Canelo. He would have ran him over like a train, and then you'd sort of keep the wheel turning in terms of the next generation's star is now budding and born, just the way boxing has always worked, you know? But they didn't do that. You know, the guys get to a certain star level in boxing, and they just fight each other. We're a star, I'm a star. We're not going to let anybody else in that room, you know? And then those guys who are battling for position as far as in the sporting sense, trying to be the best, they have to fight on their own. They don't get to be in that star. I don't know when this divide exactly happened, but you started to see this divide started happening more and more. In that way, people always say the MMA model is better. Yeah, I think the MMA model is better in terms of it forces fights. But the MMA model is a little bit tricky too, because the MMA model has its own negativity too, because there's leagues, so to speak. You have the UFC, you have ONE, you have PFL, and you can't cross them over either. You know what I mean? You can't cross them over at all. The champion of PFL cannot fight the UFC champion, or the ONE champion cannot fight the PFL champion, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Also, because it's a league and because you don't have the option to take other offers, you can get a pig like Dana White who underpays everybody. You know what I mean? Like the biggest stars in MMA should be making $30 million a fight, like the biggest stars in boxing. You know what I mean? Instead,
right,
you know, they make what, $1 million plus a couple of points on pay-per-view, and this guy keeps all the money. So the model from a competition standpoint is good, but then you can't have a pig running it either. So damn if you do, damn if you don't. I don't know what works, man. You know, but it's I can only bring to light what I think would make things better.
Well, that's interesting because me and my partner Ice Bags here that I cut off just now, I'm sorry, bro. We have brought the two together to bring people entertainment and very powerful matchups in fights. We've created Dirty Boxing Championships, and we got boxing with 4-ounce, 5-ounce gloves and elbows.
Yeah,
and ground and pound to a knockdown.
Was that what my boy Chris Algieri was commentating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Chris Algieri
Yeah, that's my
was our
boy.
commentator. Let's go.
Yeah, he told me about that. So that's some crazy. I mean, dude, entertainment. I don't mind it. You know, I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'm not so good with elbows and back fists and shit. But I mean, I think it's I think it's wild, bro. You know what I mean? Dude, good on them, bro. And you know, Chris was a kickboxing champion, so he kind of crosses over a little bit. So it's good that he was doing. He was telling me about that. He was telling me, bro, it's kind of wild. It's wild. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool like throwback vibe, but people get to stand and bang. You know what I mean? And what I wanted to see, and we were talking about this earlier before you came on, is like who excels in this? Is it an MMA fighter or is it a boxer?
I think it's funny. I think it's also how good that fighter was at that particular skill, right? Because you see like boxers will come to bare knuckle and not do well, but they may not have been that good of boxers. Personally, me and my bare knuckle fight, I thought I won, but I also fought 3 out of 5 rounds with one hand. I broke my hand. I just stopped throwing it because I was like, I think I can box this guy one-handed and not have to break my hand worse because I think I can dictate the pace. And I felt like I did. I had to box a little bit on the back foot, but I felt like, you know what, we're boxing on my terms. I feel like the judges are going to see that. And I felt like Lobo wasn't trying to box me. Lobo wanted a brawl, you know, but the fact that the whole fight was a boxing match shows you I was in control of the fight, even using one hand. But besides that, because I had the injury, I won't so much talk about that. But you do see boxers kind of mess up, or you'll see MMA guys that may have been better on the ground, so they're not as good with their fists and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's necessarily that cut and dry where it's black or white, like, oh, a boxer's better or an MMA guy's better. I also think it's maybe the style of boxer a boxer was as a boxer, and the style of MMA fighter an MMA fighter was as an MMA fighter, and their strengths and weaknesses can translate good or bad in bare knuckle or in dirty boxing and so on and so forth. But it is something that brings up a talking point, and that generates fans. It generates opinion. It generates controversy. All things that you need to generate an attraction. I think.
Yeah. One of the things that I always talked to Roy Jones about was kind of what we discussed, and what you discussed in detail here was, you know, he was like, back in my day, we just fought the next guy up.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter who the it was, we fought the next guy up.
Yeah.
And it was like a loss didn't kill you. You know what I mean? It didn't kill
and it
your
was
career.
enforced as well.
Right.
You know,
but it didn't kill your career. Now these guys are groomed to be 30-0 fighting cans.
Well, I think that, you know, I think that, you know, what the problem is too, I think that, you know, the media has a big part in this as well. You know, I try to get to the point where did this start, right? Where did this whole obsession with the O start in boxing? And I think I narrowed it down. And nobody wants to fault this fight because it's such a famous fight. And it's before I was born, and it's before some of us are born. I think when I look back over the course of history, the Ali Frazier 1 fight is the at fault for this, because they generated such a major super promotion off the O versus O, champion versus champion obsession, and it hit. That fight hit. That fight is considered the fight of the century in boxing. Ali Frazier 1. That they've been trying to sort of reproduce that constantly, and it's just like that first hit of the crack pipe. You know, you never get the high again. You know what I mean? So it's like you're trying to get that and you'll never get it. But how many times have you ruined things just looking to get that high, right? So for me, I think it goes back to that, because if you notice, before Ali Frazier won, there was a lot of champions with losses and whatnot. Records were different. Boxing was different. The structure of boxing. But after that fight, the structure of the boxing business started slowly going. Now, it didn't turn overnight. But if you look at it, it started slowly phasing towards that obsession with records, obsession with, oh, you can be a good fighter. You got too many losses. Ah, man, you know, it's much tougher now to get your shot. You may not get it. You may be phased out, even if you can fight. Especially if you're a good fighter with a bad record. Now, really, people avoid you, because now you're like, if I beat you, I don't get any credit. And if I lose, I lost to a guy with 10 losses. So the sort of that momentum, shit rolls downhill, right? So it sort of got worse and worse in that direction, I feel. But it's sort of a shame because, man, I think the sport of MMA has proven that, you know, guys with losses and who can fight can still be very, very exciting. And boxing, and it's at times will show that as well. I think that, you know, strength of schedule matters so much. And boxing, to use a college football term, right? But strength of schedule in boxing has sort of become, it's like whatever, you know? And that's why a guy like Gervonta Davis can be a pay-per-view star today, you know, because strength of schedule doesn't matter as much, you know? But strength of schedule makes people love you, you know what I mean? If you become exciting, you know? I feel like if you market it that way, it's just the way it needs to be marketed, and it's just not, because, you know, people are greedy.
I agree. I mean, if you look at somebody like Izzy in the UFC, right? Still a huge superstar, multiple losses, but he's fighting the best guys every single time. And I feel like if you marketed it properly,
Yeah.
even if it was Tank or Garcia or Haney or whoever it might be at the time, multiple losses wouldn't matter as much if they're fighting the top guys every single time.
You know what?
Day in, day out.
You know what it is too. Nobody can take precedence over the sport. That's what it should be, right? No matter how big of a star, you shouldn't be able to take precedence over the sport. But again, greed kills that. You know, greed makes the sanctioning bodies break their own rules. Greed makes promoters make moves that they otherwise shouldn't or wouldn't, and the rankings get manipulated. And things that, you know, and that's why nobody should ever become bigger than the overall product. The overall product should be the sport itself, because the sport itself, you know, is what you want to stay. Any human being is not going to stick around. You know what I mean? The people eventually retire, and then you got to go find, you know, you got to go do something else. So, but the sport can stay. The popularity of the sport can stay. The popularity of the product can stay. So I feel like, you know, by doing that in boxing, they look at short-term money, but long-term loss, you know. And yeah, now the entrance of Turki Al-Sheikh, you know, he's making a lot of good fights. He is making a lot of good matchups. But my fear with that is, are you oversaturating the market with too much money? And I don't have a problem with fighters getting paid. My fear is, does a guy like this leave when he gets bored? Because it's like playing with toys for him. It's like he's like pissing money away like it's nothing because he's had so much of it. My fear is, okay, what happens if you leave? These guys got used to being paid so much money to fight one another. Now nobody will fight each other. Now what's the possibility there? So, you know, if you set a precedent, okay, it's great. The precedent is great fights. You've also set a precedent that you're paying a lot of money for those great fights, though. You know, like you've oversaturated the market. Will you be able to hold that? I hope that, you know, fans respond in kind and everybody is appreciative and so on and so forth. Yes, there's pros and cons about the whole thing, but at least you're getting the fights.
I want to hear your thoughts on this, because boxing purists are like, Tank would kill Jake, right? But in my opinion, I think Jake knocks Tank's head off.
I don't know, man.
30 pounds.
Yeah, there is a lot of weight there. And it's possible, but honestly, man, I don't know, man. I'll be honest.
I think Tank could have the ability.
Mike, in the fight with you, honestly, I thought Jake was regressing, man. I think Jake has regressed in the last fight or two. You know what I mean? Like I thought.
I am good.
No, you're good. It's not about Mike. It's not about you. It's about the way he wasn't setting up shots. He was crossing his feet around. Like I felt like, and you obviously, your reputation precedes you, Mike. You know, it's not a disrespect to you. You did yours. You handled yours. What I'm saying is Jake's technique, I don't know, man. I felt like he was regressing a little bit. I don't know. I think the intrigue is the difference in weight, obviously. Just Tank is small, bro. Tank is like a Smurf, bro. He's small. You know what I mean? Like he's small even for his own weight class. You know what I mean? So, but there's legitimately almost 100 pounds between them, right?
Right? Like,
and a foot in height. I mean, it's like, but you know, it's really like the circus. The problem there is this where we're going with boxing? Is this where we want to go with boxing? I mean, because there's an interesting saying. When the clown moves into the palace, he doesn't become king. The palace becomes a circus. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, is that what we're doing here? Are we turning boxing into that kind of circus? I mean, I don't mind Jake staying in that lane. It's fine. You know, like, it's almost like, see, if you've seen Back to the Future Part 2, the alternate in 1985, there's Jake's lane where there's like this YouTuber lane and this like sort of celebrity lane of boxing, which is fine because people always want to see people fight. And then there's the ranking world-class level of boxing, which is like a parallel lane, but they don't intercede and cross one another. Once you start crossing them, you're taking a risk, dude. You know what I mean? You're taking a little bit of a chance because you're muddying the waters. If you put one drop of mud into pure water, you'll never have that clean water again, right? So yeah, sure, there's a curiosity.
Well, another spectacle that's coming, you know, is of some real fighters. Turkey is taking Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Teofimo, and they're going to do a show in the middle of Times Square.
Yeah, that's wild to me. Yeah, that's interesting. It's not Turkey's best card, but it's a solid card. It's a solid card. And I think that, dude, I mean, as a New Yorker myself, to be able to fight in Times Square in the middle of everything, like to know with that foot traffic and that everything, and he's doing it for free, which is wild, you know. But And then he's smart. He puts Ryan Garcia in there because Manhattan is not really New Yorkers. You know, Manhattan is like transplanted people who live in Manhattan. The real New Yorkers are in the boroughs, you know? So you get like those people that will love Ryan Garcia. Because like I feel like the real New Yorker, the real grunge New Yorker, they don't care about Ryan Garcia. But you're putting it in Manhattan where the Ryan Garcia crowd probably resides. If you remember TRL Live and MTV, remember that? So that was in the middle of Times Square, but New Yorkers didn't go. That was all tourists out there, hanging out outside, going up into the studio with Carson Daly was. So like that Manhattan Times Square area is mostly touristy. It's mostly like that kind of crowd. But it's a Ryan Garcia YouTuber crowd, man. So putting Ryan on there is kind of smart. That's right there. But then it's a solid match. Listen, Rolly and Ryan's an interesting fight because Rolly's hit or miss, bro. Rolly sometimes looks like where'd you find this guy off the corner? But sometimes he performs. There's a sparring session with Ryan and Rolly on YouTube where it looks like Rolly's doing pretty well in there. So it's like I'm curious about that fight. Rolly's back against the wall. He's got to perform. Everybody's curious about Ryan coming back. You got Devin Haney on the undercard against Ramirez, and he's in court with Ryan, so that brings a little bit of curiosity. What happens if they cross paths at the weigh-in, even though they're not fighting each other? That's interesting. And then Teofimo, he's his own set of character and controversy. He's fighting Brian Barbosa, who's I think been an unappreciated fighter for a while, who's been good but hasn't been noticed, and he's getting this opportunity. Solid card. As a New Yorker, I think that that would have been amazing. I am really happy for these fighters to have this opportunity. That would be amazing.
I'm getting called out.
Hang tight. I want you to watch. I want everybody to watch this clip real quick.
Go ahead.
Because I didn't get it, but I feel like we need to see it.
Bro, I hate Malignaggi, bro.
He's funny. Why do you hate him? I like that guy.
We were talking online or something because he said some and I didn't get what he was saying. So I chirped in and was like, I don't know. I was like, you, Malignaggi, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mike, you don't remember what that was about?
This and that.
You should get Paulie on here.
Look,
that'd be funny.
Talking with you, I'm really enjoying
we
can square the way. You know what I mean? Find out what it was we were talking about that day.
And Mike's like, I hate that guy. We got beef. I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was. I think Palomino was calling you out or something like that, and then I think in a press conference, you said something, and I was like, "Oh, he swerved that question" or something like that. And I think you said something.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
It was one of those
question about all these guys trying to call me out in bare knuckle, but all these guys that are doing it want me to cut 30 pounds and go down to their weight class, and they're not willing to come up to the money fight to fight me in my weight class.
What weight did you fight at, Mike? And bare knuckle, 75.
So last bare knuckle fight was 185. My box match against Jake was 200 pounds.
Yeah, I knew you were on the size with Jake. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting solid at like 198. I don't want to go back to 175. I want to fight at 185. I think that's a great weight class for me. And in bare knuckle, I'm absolutely devastating to the people
I've seen what you do at bare knuckle. It's funny. I work with BYB and we do 3-minute rounds in a trigon, right? So I feel like, we've got the most difficult combat sports surface, and we also do 3-minute rounds instead of 2-minute rounds, which I think is also that final minute also can be devastating. The minute, the second and third minute, a lot of knockouts even in regular boxing happen in between the second and third minute of a round, because it's where that extra fatigue lies in there. It's funny because I've been also kind of curious as I'm commentating these fights. It's like I'm trying to stay away from it, and I'm like, man, I'm curious about this testing myself as well. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, as I'm commentating and I'm ringside for all these fights, a piece of it also never leaves you either. You know what I mean? But at that moment when I was making that comment, I wasn't even calling out. I was like, I would actually watch Baboon and Perry. That would be a solid fight. But then Trout ended up beating Palomino not long after. Trout came from boxing and ended up beating Palomino. But with me, I mean, I've actually talked to my guys at BYB. I'm like, yo, you know what? I'm curious, man. I was like, I might want to, whet my appetite a little bit, because I feel like also when I did the BKFC fight, like I said, I broke my hand. I didn't get to really show what I can do. And I'll tell you what I learned. In that bare knuckle fight. In boxing, we're taught to follow through with our shots all the time. You know what I mean? And yeah, I wasn't a big puncher in boxing, but the way you punch in boxing is to turn and follow through. Dude, you do that in bare knuckle too much, and you're gonna wind up breaking your hands. You know what I mean? That's what ended up happening to me. I followed through with a right hand. I hit Lawball on the forehead. And it's kind of, on a bald head, it's that's a hard part of the head, and my hand broke. And then whatever, I ended up having to fight in a different way, a much more technical way than I felt like the judges could understand the rest of the fight. But yeah, I feel like, there's something there that, I'm curious about. I'm in talks. Yeah, I may do this again, but I also
I feel like you work off the jab really well. That's what you did in your bare knuckle fight because you didn't.
Well, I'm all I had in the bare knuckle fight. I mean, if you want the first round, I'm trying to get my timing. I'll tell you what, first round and a half, I'm getting my timing, and as soon as I started throwing the right hand, I broke it. That's my problem because
But those 2-minute rounds, I kind of love them because we train for them. And now I do go in the ring in the gym and I do 3-minute rounds just to get work with the guys because sometimes the 2 minutes is over too fast. But the 2-minute rounds when I'm prepping for those bare knuckle fights, I'm going all out for 2 minutes, and that's where you get the destruction of your opponent. It's just you're putting on a pace that they cannot consist for 5 2-minute rounds. They can't keep up with it. And we toe the line. Do you guys toe the line over there?
We do. We toe the line. Yeah, we toe the line. Same thing. We toe the line.
It's fun.
But I tell you what. I one thing about bare knuckle, even a sharp shooting works a lot better in bare knuckle than it does in boxing. I mean, even a sharp jab or a sharp right hand. A guy may want to pressure, but all of a sudden he's hesitating. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden my feints will jam you. You know what I mean? Because now I'm sharp shooting, and all of a sudden you're thinking about those sharp. Now I'm feinting, and you're jamming. You're jamming your pressure. All I need you is a little bit of hesitation, and I can step around. I can do this. It becomes a different kind of fight, and that's where the curiosity that Bags brought up before is, boxers, MMA. Which one works better? It depends on how good your boxing is. It depends on how good your MMA is.
I drive through with my shots as well, and after the first one, I fought Julian Lane. He's a tough little. He was headbutting my fists with his face, and
that's the old block.
It was working a little bit. It was my hands up. I was just touching them after that, just pop shotting.
Yeah.
But then after that fight, the owner David Feldman said, "These guys are squeezing their fists so hard. So now I be looking real stiff in there.
Yeah.
But I'm squeezing the out of my fist. So when I hit
you gotta drive.
I'm driving through like a boxer's punch, like a real punch. So I'm knocking people's teeth out.
Yeah. But you gotta land clean to do that. Yeah. You gotta land clean to do that though. Yeah. I've seen teeth wind up on the ground, but the shot gotta land clean, But one thing about bare knuckle too, it does, if you don't land clean in bare knuckle, it can still do more damage. Like, I had a big cut in my fight with Lobov. I wound up in a clinch. Bro, I shit you not, the dude didn't hit me with a clean shot the whole fight. But that cut was like something grazed on the inside. He got me in like the one clinch I wound up in. And it opened up such a cut because I also got a lot of scar tissue. But dude, the grazing shots are sometimes worse than bare knuckle. Yeah, sometimes grazing shots are worse than bare knuckle.
I have a picture of you with that cut with a boxing glove on.
Mm-hmm.
You were wearing, would you guys fight in 8-ounce gloves?
No. When I fought Lobov, we fought with bare knuckles. That was BKFC.
Right. No. I'm saying I have a photo of you in the boxing ring.
Oh, with the cut. Yeah, I was cut many fights. Yeah, I was cut many fights.
Cut.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many stitches I've gotten in my career or how many times I've been cut. I've gotten there's been a lot. Yeah, that might be Danny Garcia. That might be Danny Garcia fight. That might be later in my career. Is that below my eye, the cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Danny Garcia. You know what that is too? No? That cut opens up
top against Lobov.
Yeah, the Lobov, it was actually right here. It was diagonal. It was straight down. But I tell you, that cut here in that picture you got, I have titanium here because I broke my orbital bone in the Cotto fight. Damn. And now what happens is I got that. It opened up a lot in my career after that because it's my skin hitting metal. So when you punch me here, the metal just automatically splits it. So it's like an automatic thing. Like, you don't even have to hit it hard, but it's metal on it's skin covering metal. So as soon as you hit it, it'll open. It's like the outline of the metal of the titanium. Because when I fought Miguel Cotto in 2006, I broke my orbital bone in that fight, and then they had to put titanium in there.
Tell me this, Paulie, because I didn't know you in depth prior to this. Tell me how you got your start.
I got my start in boxing. Obviously, you guys know that. I was I guess a little bit of a troubled kid. I got thrown out of my mom's house. I got thrown out of high school.
That's what I want to hear about.
Yeah.
That's
and I never committed to anything, honestly. If you would have told me when I was like 14, you know, you're going to be a fighter, I would have been like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, because I wasn't even boxing. I started boxing till I was 16. I got expelled from high school. And my grandfather, who I was living with my grandparents at that point, my uncle just told him, yo, you got to take him to a gym or something. He can't be hanging out in the street now, you know, that he's not going to school because you're going to lose this kid, you know? And they took me to the gym. And I don't think they thought I was going to become a fighter. To tell you the truth, if I would have known me at that time as an adult now in my 44-year-old mind, I wouldn't have thought I would have become a fighter either, because this is a kid at 16 years old who's never committed to anything. Anything you put me in, I didn't commit to it, including school. Like, I just no discipline. I didn't care for it. And I started boxing, and I really liked it. Like, there was something about it. I don't know, man. I just took to it. Something about it. Obviously, you catch a lot of beatings in the beginning because you're not as good as everybody else. And the gym, sparring, and instead of, you know, I notice a lot of people that stop boxing or stop doing any kind of combat, they don't like the beatings in the gym. They don't want to go back. My mind, when I would go home, would be like, how can I beat this guy's ass tomorrow? I'm so pissed that he got the better of me. You know what I mean? It was like a motivation to go back to the gym constantly, you know? And then 6 months into it, I went to watch a live pro fight that I never went to watch a live pro fight before. It was Kevin Kelly versus Prince Nassim Hamed at Madison Square Garden. And Nassim Hamed, it was his American debut, and he was like a major, major star coming out of England. And Kevin Kelly was a New York hotshot, former world champion himself. So it was a big deal. This fight was promoted big time. You know, I was on the subway going to the gym every day. I would see the posters. You know, it was promoted on the subway. It was promoted in Times Square. It was a lot of money was put behind this fight. And I went to it. I bought the cheapest ticket I could, and it sat in the nosebleeds and watched the whole undercard. And I went to it. And that night had a really profound effect on me. I had already been boxing 6 months. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had already probably stuck around in boxing longer than my family probably assumed I would. But I had no amateur fights yet. And I left the Garden that night with a different mindset. It was like, dude, I gotta feel this. This was amazing. This was like electric, you know, the whole night. They were really good fights, don't get me wrong. I guess the card living up to it also kind of helped out. It's because the electricity in the crowd was just fusing through me. And I'm on the subway going home on the train. And I'm just like, what did I just watch? I was like, dude, I gotta feel this. This is me. I gotta do this. Like, I need this in my life. This is the high that I need. This is the drug that I need. And it was like, that's it. From then on, it was like off to the races. You know, I joined the New York Golden Gloves in the subsequent months, and I won them. I was luckily had a lot of natural speed, natural talent. I had a three-year amateur career only, but I won the U.S. championships by the end of it. So I was ranked #1 in the nation. I made the USA team. I didn't stick around because I needed money. I had nothing behind me, so I turned pro. And from then on, you know, everybody knows the rest. You know, my pro career kind of went on, and I won 2 world championships and so on and so forth. But I do think that, you know, the things I learned in boxing are a metaphor for life, you know, hard work and dedication, and also a commitment to something, you know, really is important. If you don't have that, you're not going to succeed in anything you do. Also, a foundation in terms of, I didn't turn pro too early, which was good. You know, like I made sure I stuck out my 3 years in the amateurs. I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to try to make the 2000 Olympics, and if I don't make them, I'll turn pro after that. I didn't make the 2000 Olympics, but I thought to myself, I don't feel totally comfortable turning pro yet. There are some moments in sparring sessions where I don't have all the answers. I need to feel like I have the answers. And that extra year I did in the amateurs, I won everything. I literally won every tournament I joined, including the U.S. championships. And after that year, that was a really big, important final year for me. And then after that year, I knew I was ready. And also, I was getting the offers from important people too, like promoters. You know, that's kind of cool too. You know, there's no internet at that time, or the internet's very rookie at that time. So, you know, people give you business cards, and all of a sudden I'm fighting at tournaments, and managers and promoters who I see on TV with champions are now approaching me and giving me business cards and, like, you know, and all that. So I was like, all of a sudden you feel good about yourself. You know, it gave me kind of the self-esteem I needed, and the confidence I needed. You know, fighting builds confidence. Mike, I'm sure, Mike, you can attest to this as well, you know? And when we're teenagers and when we're kids, we have our highs and lows about confidence and different things. You know, we don't know life. We don't understand life the way it needs to be, you know? But I tell you what, getting that success in fighting, being in that atmosphere, I think helped me mature and gain a lot of confidence, and also gave me the maturity to kind of have that backbone for me in life, you know, and that's sort of set the tone for me for the remainder of my life till now. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I mean, I sometimes I say things that I get myself in trouble, and sometimes I'll do something crazy, but that's my personality. But nonetheless, I really do think that, it's something that I needed, and I'm glad I fell into it. My whole life is sort of, falling into one thing into another, and it kind of went well. I have no GED, I have no high school diploma, I have nothing, and yet I've been able to succeed in sort of a weirdly entrepreneurial fashion. And I'm still kind of like, I just kind of go with it, things come my way and I kind of just go with it. It's worked out, and I'm happy for that. And I'm thankful for that. Honestly, I'm really am.
I love the passion for sure. You're really passionate.
And I think that, obviously we all have our views. My views of right and wrong. Sometimes I get too passionate about it, and maybe not everybody always agrees with me. And sometimes that may get me in trouble and whatnot, but it's the way I've always been. If I believe in something, I wholeheartedly go for it, and boxing was that thing. Combat was that thing. But if you would have told me at like 13, 14 years old that, what do you think of being a fighter? I wouldn't have told, because I wasn't like, I was the kind of kid I would fight you if I had to, because I wasn't a big kid, but I wasn't the kind of kid like that I would go for it, like I would I would start for trouble, look for trouble, but I also was always the kind of kid that, hey, I'm tough enough, I'm going to fight you if there's a problem, So what, you wouldn't have looked at me like my brother, for example. My brother was more of a troublemaker than me. He would actually start fights. He would get into fight. I'd be like, yo, you're a bro. You know what I mean? Like, he stalled with people. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like that, but I would wind up in fights. And so it's funny because I ended up fighting. And it worked out. And I loved every minute of the experience. Honestly, it was and again, Mike, you can attest to that, man. It's a different feeling to have that in your locker, so to speak, to have the experiences. It's cool, man. It's a different kind of life. And
I recently mentioned how when you get the nerves before the fight, you realize, it took me a long time to really realize that you don't get that all the time. The fear, the possibilities of what you could do if you can overcome that feeling and you can go out there and perform at your best. You don't get that feeling or that opportunity very often in life. Only once a year, maybe twice.
And knowing that being a man is facing your fears. Being a man is, stepping into rooms that, you don't know how you're going to come out the other side of it. You know what I mean? Being a man sometimes requires this, and being a man over the course of human history has required this of people, and I feel like, we're probably in a softer generation than most of human history, but, to be able to test that part of our manhood that most people don't get to test out, feeling those emotions, that unsureness, but then reminding yourself, hey man, dude, I'm a man. That's what I do. You know what I mean? It's okay if I'm nervous, but I got to perform. That's not a reason to not to freeze in the lights. I would always remind myself, this is what I dreamed of. You hear you've been on shows where you're the main event and you hear the crowd building from the locker room. You know what I mean? From the locker room, you're getting your hands wrapped and you can already hear the undercard roars because the crowd's filling up and the fights that are going on and somebody's hitting the canvas on the undercard and you hear that roar and you hear it all the way back in the dressing room, and you're getting your hands wrapped and that crowd is waiting. What's waiting for you out there. It can be unnerving for people. I tell people are like, you ever see it's for people, I'd fight Mike Tyson for $1 million. I'd do that for $1 million. You wouldn't get out the dressing room, dude. You wouldn't be able to get out because the wait in the dressing room, the preparation, the hearing of that crowd and what's waiting for you, the storm that's waiting for you out there. All of that is a mental, psychological barrier you need to overcome. But at the same time, it's part of the rush because when it's over, you're like, dude, it's sick. That's amazing. But it's part of being a man, dude. I would always remind myself, okay, yeah, there's nerves, but this is what I dreamed of. What did I start doing this for? Why would I do, if I didn't do this to be in these kind of arenas, in these kind of big fights, then what did I start doing this for? When everybody dreams of being there, we're here. So forget these nerves. Let's go, That's it.
Right. People think they get the opportunity, they're just going to show up, they're going to fight, but it's like you have to put in months of work to even feel ready enough to go out there and prove yourself, all the hard work you put in. And that's the one thing that people won't do. They won't work hard.
And then you get the guys that put in all the work and get to fight night and freeze. They put in all that work. You know what I mean? So it's physical barriers and it's psychological barriers, bro. There's two things that are huge. They're both big, and I don't know about an MMA, if you've seen, but I've seen fighters in the gym that are amazing, amazing gym fighters, bro. Some fighters, I've seen guys that you never heard of beating the out of champions, bro. Like, amazing in the gym. Go under the lights, bro. It's like you watch a different person.
Michael Bisping said nearly the exact same thing, word for word, on this podcast.
If you fight long enough, if you've been in combat gyms long enough, you will see these people. You know they exist, and you are mind blown to see it. When you're going through it. As now you get older, like Bisping said, and I'm a little older too, so I can look back on it and understand. Hey, that's just the way it is, reality. But as you see it in real time, you're like, how is that possible? How? It's possible, dude. I've seen it myself. It's possible.
Is as Paulie's telling this story, I can feel like he's hyping himself up in the head. He would come through the tunnel right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would come through the tunnel right now.
Yeah, bro.
How long has it been?
Dude, it's been a while. I mean, I fought the law ball fight in 2019. My last pro boxing match was 2017. But yeah, man, that walk through the tunnel, dude, it's unnerving, but it's also a rush, dude. It's also a rush, Mike, you ever feel like this, man? Sometimes the arena's going so crazy, it's almost like you after you've done it for a while, like you get lost in the walk. Like, dude, this is amazing. This is awesome. You know what I mean? Like we're like, now I'm calm enough where I don't feel so much nerves and I'm enjoying it. I get to the ring and I'm like, dude, I gotta fight. Like, it's not a party. Like, you don't want to lose yourself on the way to the ring either, or on the way to the octagon either. It's like, you're taking in all the adulation and you're like, dude, I gotta fight, bro. I gotta keep your head right, bro.
You hyping me up right now. When I get to do it again,
you know the feeling already. You know the feeling, bro.
I'm still in it. I'm still waiting to go again.
Guys, all guys have a vice, right? They need the high. It could be women, it could be gambling, it could be
sometimes there's multiple things, right? But
it could be all of them combined, right? It could be all of them combined, 100%.
Well, hopefully not all of them, but some of them. If it's all of them, you're not gonna live long.
All of them, you split your money 3 ways and you lost at the casino. But does anything touch the high of walking out that tunnel?
Nah, bro, nothing. I've done some acting. I've obviously done commentating, and it's funny because, I've seen commentators kind of fall into that ego thing, and I'm like, dude, I can never have an ego as a commentator because, bro, there's nothing that equals a fight. It's like on fight night, bro, I want the guys I'm commentating to be the stars, and they deserve that. I know what that feeling is. Nothing I do from the commentating booth gives me that rush. It's a great seat. It's an awesome seat to watch the fights from. Close enough to get blood on you and stuff, but it doesn't. As exciting as it is to be a spectator, it doesn't match. Not even close, actually.
Watching my kids be born, but it's.
But that's different. That's a love. You know what I mean?
That's right.
This is adrenaline.
But it's a love for the fight too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's adrenaline. It's the unexpected. You're stepping into the unexpected. Into the unknown, and you're, but you've prepared for it. But at the same time, it's still the unknown, bro. It's still the unknown. But you have control. But it's still the unknown.
Yo, I'm hyped after this episode, bro. I'm so hyped. Dude.
Yeah, man.
All right, so we talked about this a little bit. What did you think about Jackson bringing Bryce Mitchell in and then just cutting him off, deleting his show and all that?
I don't know what ended up happening. I saw the clips, but then I didn't follow it because I'm like I said, I try not to get caught up in mainstream because I think controversies are also thrown out there to distract us from reality. I saw the clips with Bryce, yeah. And I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, you can't paint every people from one group with the same brush. But I've done research enough to know what he's talking about, but not necessarily that. Like I said, you got to paint everybody with the same brush. It's tough to do that, and that's why I believe in God, because only God can read hearts, right? I mean, you can't judge everybody from a group the same way. As much as people try to make you do that, you can't.
Yeah. So what I was saying earlier is we've lost manhood to a sense, right? And like you said, I think it was pre-designed. It was a plan, right? Along with the educational system, everything that's going on. But I feel like whether it's fighting, whether it's business, whether it's family, men are inherently born to take risks, right? And they should.
That's why our car insurance starts out as higher, because we take more chances when we're driving too. They charge us more money to
Building it
drive.
out.
Even though I'm convinced we have less accidents.
Yeah. I read a book many years ago. It's called Wild at Heart. And it was about a father that raised 2 or 3 boys. And he talked about letting these boys be who they are, right? And be wild and have fun. And we've stopped that, right? But if you let them do that at a young age and you build that into them, because it's in an inherent sense in those children and those boys that become men, then you have a different man 20 years later than you.
Yeah, of course. You know, I think there's a reason you've killed masculinity and propped up femininity, right? Because if you are going to take over a society, you need to kill the masculinity of it. You can prop up them women all you want. At the end of the day, if there's a danger, they're going to still run for the hills. Of women, you can tell women they're strong as hell. It doesn't matter how strong a woman is. If there's danger, inherent danger, their instinct is going to be to run, you know, like when faced with death, you know, and that's not even something bad. I think, you know, it's a genetic thing, I think, you know, but if you kill the masculinity in men, then nobody will risk their lives to save their women and children or to save people, you know? And so I think that, you know, you've got to, people have gotten to that point.
You know, I'm raising, my son is 4 now, and it's like, he has things that I didn't have when I was his age or whatever. And he's actually learning a lot. I feel like he's more advanced than I was.
There's more tools to teach, Mike.
I was such a wild kid and could play and do anything. I'd hit my head, I'd bleed. I was wild. And that's what I am as an adult. I'm this wild adult trying to figure out how to on my computer and how I can be more successful and things like that. So I'm wondering if that little change in society could be so that the men can do more work at the desk and learn better the way that they physically learned by working with their hands back in the day. They can work with their mind in the future.
Okay, I'll play devil's advocate to that. It's a good point, Mike. Certainly it's something to discuss. But if you eliminate society's income, if you have a economic collapse and it comes down to you've got to grow your own food, you've got to go hunt your own food, you've got to provide for your family yourself with your manhood, all those skills at the desk ain't gonna for you. It ain't gonna.
Right, but there's always that what if.
Of course, but I think I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think
they're saying the Simpsons are predicting the blackout. Now we're gonna have this blackout. And we're gonna be out of power, and people ain't gonna know what the Hollywood do how to survive.
I think Hollywood is shady, but I don't know if everything the Simpsons says. If it happens, it happens. Listen, I mean, everything with the Simpsons, everything is hindsight, right? Oh, they predict this happened, but if it doesn't happen, it didn't happen, right? I mean, hey, if it happens, it happens. You know, I say this, I still think, you know, men are supposed to be able to, you know, go get food if they need to. You know, God forbid something bad happens. You know, you could be that nerd at the desk, and yeah, it's an easy job, it's an easy living financially. But what if you create the digital money? You eliminate paper money, which will happen, mind you, that will happen, and then you have a global shutdown. Now nobody can buy anything. Now how do you go get food? Working at the office is going to get you food. It ain't going to bring you food. It ain't going to fill your fridge.
I've always said it's even as simple as like count every single person you know. If power goes down and the power guys aren't there to fix it, who the do you know is going to climb up there and fix even that?
We problem solvers. I have a house full of artifacts. If I need to go get food, I'll trade something. I'll go or I'll take it. And if I cut someone's leg off, I'm eating.
It's only a couple weeks before everyone's at each other's throat. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're not going
at a certain
trade
point,
with you. They're going to steal
a piece of gold
that
or an
shit.
artifact is not worth as much as that food anymore. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, the value of food goes up at that point. You know what I mean? Like because now nobody's going to give a about that artifact because their life depends on eating, not having the artifact.
Well, then women who know how to make food from scratch are going to be
you gotta
the top
get the
priority.
Ingredients. Where do you get the ingredients, Mike? That's what I'm saying. You got to get and grow them. That's what I'm talking about. Ultimately, the most prehistoric skills are still the ones you need, and we're creating a society that lacks those.
Gotta grow them.
Yeah, we're creating, or got to hunt them, you know, or you got to hunt the food, right? So we're creating a society that lacks those, you know. Listen, at the end, ultimately, I'll tell you what, I've become also a more biblically inclined person later in my life as well. And I do think that this is all biblical in the end. And maybe that's the biggest conspiracy theory, right? Is that, you know, the Bible itself is for me the top dog as far as conspiracy theories. But I don't think conspiracy theories are false. I think the word conspiracy theory becomes has taken on a bad cognitive definition, but I think the Bible is all true. You know, I mean, you just have to know how to interpret it, you know? So ultimately, I don't think God put us here to be violent. I don't think God put us here to end up, you know, in a situation where we need to be, but we live in a system that has caused that right now. But I think ultimately there is an end to what there's a limit to what God will take. And, you know, there's a point where he steps in, but I think we're living in those last days, but I don't think we're quite there yet, obviously, as we're still in a moving society.
I've always thought it's hilarious, and it's not a bad thing at all, but you know, there's memes about Jesus loves knockouts. Like, it's so funny when someone gets smoked. I mean, someone's laying there unconscious, and thank you, Jesus. I just want to say, bro. I'm just Jesus curious. What's your take? Like, yeah. Well, so what's your take on that? Like, is that
my take on it? My take on it is Jesus told Peter, "Put away the sword. For those who live by the sword die by the sword." Also, Jesus was probably the most powerful being, if you believe in Jesus, the most powerful being that ever lived the earth, right? He had the power to heal. He also had the power to take away life. Yet, did he ever fight? Is there a recorded incident where he got at somebody's throat and beat them up? He could have just taken the life out of everybody, right? If people didn't like him, he could have just made them stop breathing. I think he gave the example. And you know what they say, right? A true peaceable person is a person that can do damage but chooses not to. So, you know, Jesus is the prime example of that. He had the power to do that damage, but yet he chose to do love. And I think in the end, I think that Jesus does step in and solve
that. Kind of circles around to which I was talking about the original man. If God has a plan for the future and we have faith, then the mind of the boys growing up, they might be changing into what they need to be for a better future.
But if that's the case, you need to know what a relationship with God being built up means. You know, like I believe in what James 2:26 was, if faith without works is dead. So you can believe in Jesus, but are you following what Jesus' design example was? You know, Amen. Are you living that way? Showing faith in Jesus means more than just, I believe in Jesus, he's my Lord and Savior. It's nice to say, but I think exercising faith, not just showing faith, is also important, because I think that's where you can tell your wife you love her, but if you don't show it, I mean, do you really love her? I mean, your actions prove more than words, right? So I think it's the same thing about with faith and spirituality and all this other stuff. I think there's a way you're supposed to live. And don't get me wrong, bro. I'm not trying to be preachy here, because I am the first one that has to work on a lot of things. I'm the first one that has to work on a lot of things, you know? And you know, I understand in my mind that, you know, my mind takes me to different. I don't believe and a lot of fighters fight fights and then they say, "Oh, I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." I don't believe Jesus approves of fighting for a living. Personally, me.
My dad said the same thing.
I personally, I don't. You know, because I think if he did, you would have seen stories of Jesus attending fights at the Coliseum, because there were Coliseums all over the Roman Empire. You know, just like today, you start out in small arenas, you go up to the big arena, just like in the movie Gladiator. He started out locally, and then he went to the Roman Coliseum eventually. Same thing as fighters. We start out locally, and then we wind up in Vegas as big fights and whatnot. I think if Jesus approved of these kind of fights, there would be stories of Jesus attending fights at the smaller arenas, the Coliseums in Palestine or whatever, right? So he didn't, though, right? So. And then the way he lived in his example was to, you know, be anti-violent, not violent. So personally, me, that's one thing I got to work on, because I'm always inclined, man. I wake up every day and I'm like, it's my battle. You know what I mean? So, and it's freaking so easy to make money with it too. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, because you get good and then they pay you money. They pay you good money. And you're like, man.
Hey guys, speaking of violence, we have Ben Rothwell in the waiting room ready to come on. Paulie, you're welcome to stay. If not, fascinating show.
You can at least say hi to the bare knuckle heavyweight champion. He's done pretty well.
Yeah. Is he at super heavyweight in BKFC?
Yes.
Dude, I heard of that guy. That guy's, bro, I'm telling you. You know, this is what I'm talking about promotions not working together. Even we got Gustavo Trujillo at BYB, who's nasty. This guy at BKFC, I see some highlights. He's nasty. That would be a sick fight. Have you seen Trujillo fight? I'm telling you, bro. That would be. This is what I'm saying. Everybody's got to work together here, bro. Even in fighting, you know, what's with the alignments, separation, dude.
All right, one more quick one. You get better odds the lower in weight and the lower in ranking you go. Who is the smallest, lowest ranked boxer, pro boxer you would take and bet your house on with those odds to beat Jake Paul? I want to hear it from you.
Smallest low weight boxer.
You'd bet your house on.
Bet my house on. I mean, I'll tell you what. Bam Rodriguez is nasty, but I bet him he's 100 pounds smaller, but he's nasty. He is good, man. But Jake, I don't know. I feel like Jake's regressed. I don't know, man. You know. And Mike, that's not because you did good. It's not you. I analyze from a different perspective. I look at what your feet are doing, how you're throwing your hands, how tight your punches are, so on and so forth. I feel like Jake's style has gotten worse. You know,
he's got to come over to dirty boxing so I can really get dirty.
But hey, convince him to do that, dude.
Let me say what's up to the champ over here, the heavyweight bare knuckle boxing world.
Ben, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you.
Man Rothwell.
How's it going?
Good, man.
Where's Ben from? Ben, where you from?
From Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's where I was born and raised.
Kenosha.
Are there mountains out there?
No.
I bet it gets cold though.
Yep. Yep, it's cold. Today it's literally the sky is completely gray and it's raining.
Dude, where do you stay at, Mike?
I'm in Florida, man. It's nice and warm. I'm from Michigan.
Okay, yeah, I'm in Florida too.
But the Florida life, you know, I feel like having the money and being out here where it's warm and
lower taxes.
You know, I almost wanted to convert my wife so that she would cover up in the summertime.
It's hard in the summer, bro. I like Florida, but summers in Florida still ain't not nice, bro. I'm not crazy about the summers in Florida. I still like going to New York for the summers. But anyway, guys, thanks for having me. Champ, Ben, nice to meet you. Platinum Mike, thank you for having me on your show, guys.
It was a pleasure to get to know you, brother. I hope to see you around sometime.
Yeah, good chat, guys. Good chat, man. I'll see you soon.
Peace out, bro.
I'm glad we got to squash this massive beef over an Instagram comment.
He remembered what it was.
Yeah,
what's up, Big Ben, man? How you doing?
How are you guys doing? So you guys having a good time?
Yeah.
We are having a good time. We're talking with the champion of the world right now, man. One of the best knockout punches to become champion in history.
Oh, thank you. That's some high respect there, man. There's been a lot of great fights, a lot of great knockouts over the years, but I couldn't really ask for a better night. You know, it was pretty incredible.
It was incredible to watch, and you know the odds were against you. You were an underdog.
Yes.
Yeah, the gambling community was happy, weren't they? So I'm guessing I was a good bout to bet on myself.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
I had several people text me and they were like, "Yo, what's the one I bet on?" And I said, "Ben as an underdog is the bet. Like the bet of the century. That's the one you take. Ben as an underdog.
Plus 200. Yes.
It was retarded. It was dumb.
Easiest money ever.
Paulie was just talking about their heavyweight champion over there in BYB. What do you think you would do in a fight matchup against Gustavo Trujillo?
I can't say I haven't heard of him, but I just haven't really sat down and watched his fights yet. But he's obviously made some noise. I do see his name pop up, and some of the rankings put him as number one when they do the rankings for both, and he's obviously has skills. But it's not really a fight. I haven't really dove into studying him or anything because I don't see that fight on paper anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So who is on the horizon for you? Are there anything they're talking with you about?
We don't have a contract signed, do we?
Oh, you're a free agent right now.
Things seem to be moving along this week, so they definitely have.
They always say that. They always say it's moving along this week. We'll talk with the managers this week. They're going to eat me alive for that. But they always say that. And then, we got to push it another month.
Honestly, it's been quiet for about a month, but I was warned of that in the right after right after the 25th, we had a big night, and there was a week of like nonstop interviews, and it was pretty crazy and hectic. Where I didn't even care. I couldn't even think about the future for like a whole week. And then the week 2 comes around. I'm like, all right, I'm starting asking questions and calling the management, like, hey, what's going on? Where am I? And I did that interview with, and I kind of told everybody where, yeah, I'm a free agent right now. It was like as crazy as it is, but this week things have happened. Like I'm good. Like things are going. I'm happy, and legitimate movement after being pretty quiet. Some things happened this week, and I just obviously we got to get things done. And I haven't been talked to an opponent, but as far as I know, like I'm the BKFC heavyweight champ, and I'm going to defend the belt. I don't want to defend it, or am I going to get in that tournament? Is that tournament going to happen? What's going on with that thing? I mean, I haven't heard anything, but it sounds like it could be something epic.
Yeah, me versus Ben in the main event of the $25 million tournament. Hey, being a free agent right now in your position is one of the best places you can be. Maybe you get the Jake Paul fight with the boxing match next.
He's not going to fight somebody that would just,
You're too big.
Actually beat him.
Hey, maybe you end up on the Packers offensive line.
Ooh.
As a free agent.
43, I'm going to play some football.
Would you want offense or defense?
Oh, man.
You're an offensive lineman.
No offense, man. I use my hands, I don't have to worry about takedowns and
yeah, you can
fight MMA so much. Like I'll do it in self-defense. Like I still got a full round of set of skills, but I'm definitely enjoying the boxing bare knuckle aspect of this. It's giving me some longevity, and my 4 fights, haven't been that long. What is it? A total, like besides my second fight, 3 of the fights was like 1:40 total for 3 fights.
Hasn't been a round. Yeah, hasn't been a full round yet.
The one I saw must have been the good one. It was when
Copeland stopped in the end of the 3rd round. So there was 6 minutes of good fighting. That guy can take a beating. Guys, all my respect. I think he's actually ranked too low. He didn't just lose anybody. He lost to the champ. So he definitely. He needs a fight with an Andre Adams or any of those guys that are up there. Even Mick. I feel like Josh will wipe out most of the other heavyweight division as well.
If you could entice any heavyweight in the world to come over, who would it be to face you?
I've been name dropping everybody, but like I get to just say, like, forget politics, forget what people think, and I'd probably be a 1-10, 1-20 underdog. I want to fight who right now is considered the #1 boxer in heavyweight.
We might have
right.
We might have something for you in dirty boxing. We might have a matchup for you over there. You can put the little gloves back on again.
Yeah, you got. Look at you. You talk differently now. You have angles to hit.
Yeah. Platinum Promotions.
That was one thing. It was a great time coming to the event too. If you want to get some dirty boxing insight in here real quick, it was a great time. Yes, thanks for having me.
That's right. I forgot when you punched me in the stomach.
Yeah, I wonder if I hit you harder than I had before. Like, it made me feel bad. Like, you bring me to your promotion, I'm sticking you in the gut.
Hey, yo, pause. No, man. That one day we did it bare knuckle, and I didn't even hit your ass right. I should have hit you for real. Tried. I took like 5, and then the next one just got through, and it took me out. I was like, dang. Too much weight.
You're still tough son of a man. I'm like,
and you always trying to spar me. You're like, I spar with little guys. We got this $25 million tournament. It's going to be you and me in the finals. And I'm going to poke and move.
Hey, if that's what comes down to it, and we make it to the finals and we're fighting over, $15 million. Hey, man, it's a win.
Yeah. Damn, and all 15 goes to whoever wins that.
But it's like one of those taboo things.
He said he was gonna take my belt from me at the press conference.
Something about if you had nothing nice to say, you just don't say. So
I said, you ain't gonna take my belt.
I remind him the weight classes are for a reason. So
He
let's
went and
turn
got
it
his own belt.
extra.
Yeah, it's
interesting, to
because
say the least.
it's because that's and there's no choking in this fight, so you know. And if I was, you know, your MMA skills, I don't know if you got on top of me, I'd be in trouble. But if I got your back, you'd have trouble getting me on. Get off of me.
So now you made the next challenge. So the next challenge is I'm gonna let you start with your hooks in. I'm gonna let you put your hand here, even. I'm gonna let you do this to me. I'll be okay.
Look at Big Ben, man. He's strong as fuck. I'm better off in the bare knuckle boxing ring with your ass, to be honest.
You got a puncher's chance,
I
man.
do have a puncher's chance. Nah, maybe not. I think look at this. Look at his head. If my hand punches that, oh man, I'm in trouble.
And truthfully, it's like one of the parts that keeps me humble. I'm like, my wife kind of yells at me because I'm just like, yeah, but I've been around guys that are much bigger than me, and always puts me into place. Like my hands, I feel like I have small hands, you know, compared to some of the hands that I've shook, like how massive some dudes are. I'm like, I'm not that big. And Jen's like, Ben, turn around. And we were down in Florida and we were at one of the theme parks, and I turned around and all I saw was like a sea of heads underneath. And she's like, yeah, like you're still bigger than, you know, all of these people. I'm like, okay. It's still, I just remember there's always like gigantic human beings.
That would be so great at Disney World watching the fireworks. Like I'm always like down here trying to look up. If I was up here just enjoying the view, man, I bet food tastes better up there. Is that why you're so big?
I gotta say, going into exactly that, I haven't been ignoring this. I've been on my phone desperately looking for. You were the first fighter, Ben. You've been on the podcast before, but I didn't have a chance to tell you this. The first fighter I ever got a picture with. I became like super balls deep in MMA. I saved up, went out to a Vegas card. It was after, I think, 189, where they had an Ultimate Fighter finale on Sunday the next day. I think it was one of those cards. But I saw you in the airport, and I was like, I flew to that card by myself. So I was just sitting there in the airport, and I was like, that's Big Ben. Like, I walked by a couple fighters, but I didn't have the balls to go say what's up in the casinos. I was like, he looks nice. Like, bro, he's a Packer fan, I think. I'll go say what's up. So I went and said what's up and said, like, I didn't want to ask you for a picture. I was scared to. But I was like, Big Ben, huge fan. And you were so nice. You said, did you want a picture? And your girlfriend came over and grabbed the phone, took a picture for me. And I'm standing there like geeking out. And then now here I am sitting with you again, Mike Perry. Bro, but you were the first fighter I ever met. And going into your size, like, I thought you were, like, obviously that's a big dude, you kicked my ass. But when I uploaded that picture to Twitter, which I wish I could find because these two would laugh their ass off it. I had a lot of weight on me back then. But people were surprised, like, either I'm big or Big Ben's not as big as people say. But you're still a big dude, bro. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you see an NBA guy and it's like, what the f-? Like Shaq next to you, but you still a giant dude, man. But such a nice guy. And I just had to tell you that personally because
it's a pretty cool story. I mean, I didn't just like put my hand in your face and like tell you to get the out of here. Like, I'm in the airport. I got a plane to catch. Get out. Like,
I think you were in line like for some food or something. I was like, when's a good time? Should I wait till after he eats? But yeah, dude, you got your girlfriend to take a picture, and I don't know, man. It's just crazy. It's been such a journey.
It's a good story, man.
Yeah, man.
Unfortunately, they don't always go that way with guys that I grew up around. You know, they were some of the first UFC champs. And the way I seen them treated the fans at times, it just made me irate. And I just always told myself, you know, that was what not to do. And I'm like, I was always putting in like the fans are the reason we get to do this. So I had to really engrave that into myself that I was going to, you know, bring that with me in everything that I did. So, you know, it's crazy when I see people like they're scared to even ask or come up and talk to you. And it's just like, yeah, we got to be, you know, you thought I looked nice. You know, some people say I look like a mean ogre or, you know, this ravaging barbarian that you'd never come say hi to. And like, at least it was cool enough you came up and said hi to me. So.
Well, I just know, like, I'm going to mind my manners because, like, I've now had experience meeting fighters and but when I met Mike, I was like, okay, whoa. I got to be careful here because this dude, if I say the wrong, he's going to me up.
That's right, because Ben is a nice guy and Mike's a. That's why you need
because
to
people
differentiate.
So I say because they say, but I don't think anyone says anything about Big Ben, and they're scared when they see him. But
It's the
they
look in the eyes,
ain't
Mike,
got to be
dude.
afraid of me to get knocked out. They ain't got to be afraid. When they come up and they see how I really act, it's a different story. Them little Twitter fingers. Do
See,
you
if I saw
deal with
you
that?
in
Do you
line waiting
deal
for
with
food,
hate
I'm waiting.
comments on social media?
That's why you just gotta really watch yourself judging people. It's just like you can't. Like everybody like in this area in my circle, I've learned just with the customers, gym members, people like you said out in public, the fans even treat me differently than they treat somebody that's 5'11". Like it's just the way it is. Like it's crazy. It is like they talk to me different. They treat me different. Like you, a guy's around your height or he's a little bit bigger than you. He probably does think he can kick your ass. And then it's like you get all this fame and they're like, well, who's this guy? And they want to challenge you. And it's just like crazy that people act that way. But then we've watched it and they act that way. And so Mike's kind of got to put up a defense. Like I ain't playing. Like don't even try to challenge me. So it's a different world.
Thanks.
Well,
Ben.
so Mike is super defensive like that. Have you ever had to be like that? Has anyone approached you saying, "What's up, Big Ben"?
It all kind of faded away in my early 20s. In high school, that was my entire from freshman year on. Like it, because even my senior year, it was like there was, the 19, 20-year-old guys, like, or whatever, that were all in high school, like hanging out with high school kids, like, there's some of them, but like people really started to know that I was fighting in the beginning of my senior year, and then that like really, really people really started leaving me alone. I think just the fact kids talked about it made people scared of me. But all up until then, man, I was always getting with older classmen trying to book me. And I was just say, dude, I was pretty fat, like in grade school. So I got picked on all the time, like bullied by older kids. So a lot of the reason I started fighting is because I'm so pissed off at everybody. Like a little bit of the Hulk mentality with Bruce Ban's like, I'm always angry. It's like, well, I am. And it's just, I got to remember not to let the Hulk out till I'm in the fight. Like letting the Hulk out in daily public doesn't go well. You know what I mean? Like saying things to people that are innocent or just freaking out on your family. It's like you have to learn to control it. And it's like that whole light switch mentality. It's like I have to be a rational human being talking to all of you right now. But if somebody endangers my life or challenges me, I got to flip it. And then you're dealing with something completely different.
Has that happened as you've been an adult and like a fighter?
Just in my early 20s, it happened a couple times. There's some road stopped. What?
And then it stopped.
Yeah. It's like I had a couple street fight episodes that happened, and there was one that happened when I was in the IFL already, kind of established. It was like a funny story, but I was out. We went out, and the club was empty, and it's like 2:30, club closed, and this is in Iowa. We're in the Quad Cities where we trained with Militish, and me, Rory Markham, and Mike Sesanolovich, the three of us were in the IFL together. We're done, and we're walking behind this two guys and a girl that some of the guys were talking to with. Well, these two guys, they didn't know who they were. The one who comes up and just gets girl handful of, and she's like yells at him like you. So Mike and Roy are instantly like, hey, dude, leave her, get your hands off of her. And the dudes are like nodding their head, and they obviously have no idea who we are, but they're like talking to us now, kind of. So they leave her alone, and we start getting into the parking lot. And the parking lot was kind of unique because our cars were pulled in, like we couldn't pull forward. It was against the wall. So like there was only one way of traffic. Well, those dudes decide slow drive up, and they stopped their car right behind ours. It was just us three. So like we couldn't get out. Like they trapped us in, and they left their car like that, and they got out. Well, instantly, Rory Markham was like known to get into street fights, and he instantly approaches the dudes like, ready to throw. And Mike sees kind of hanging out by the car, like, what the are we gonna do? And I'm like looking around, and the dudes are like talking to Rory, getting in his face, about to do something. And I see all these people from the club had just emptied out, and they're all like watching what's gonna happen. I know there's cops everywhere, and I'm like, what the am I gonna do? Like, we gotta defend ourselves. So I slapped myself as hard as I could to make a red mark, and I go, oh my god, hit me. And when I did that, all the dudes stopped and turned and looked at me. And I smoked the dude. And he just was like done, like on the ground. And Rory Markham instantly jumped on the other dude that was standing there and started throwing straight punches. And the dude got knocked out and he fell on the mirror. And he was like on the mirror of the car getting hit like this. And he turned, the dude that I had hit with the right hand just started to get up and turn and look. And Rory turned from him and football punched the dude that I had hit. And the dude that started to get off the car, he looked up. I did a clean roundhouse kick that just took the dude like, it was like Gonzaga Crow Cop.
Oh.
And they're like done. Like they look like bodies. And then almost the second we got done doing that, we turn and look at each other and like there's bodies. Cops all in their cars, out, drawn. What the going on? And me and Rory go, oh my God. And like the cops like come and like pull us into different cars, do all this. Long story short, yeah, their car entrapped us, basically incriminated them.
Ben's like, look at my face. They punched me so hard. It's red.
Yeah, I used that too.
Yeah.
I was like,
as he roundhouse kicked a guy in the face.
That's all we said. Yeah, they hit us first.
I've got a serious question though. How big were you when you stood next to Big Ben and thought he didn't look that big?
I didn't say that. I said people on the internet either didn't know I was as big as I had said, like, because they don't believe me if I say I'm.
But
over
if you even look somewhat close, you must have been pretty large.
Oh, I was like 240. I was 240, 6'2". I was probably wearing my cowboy boots because I was
6'2", 240. You know, small guy either.
Yeah, but I can get down to like I'm probably 205, 210, but I should weigh like 190, 185 probably.
It wouldn't be a good 240, Ben.
But you're down 40 pounds. I mean, there you go.
Oh yeah, I fluctuate my whole life. But dude, I will find this picture. I was dying because Mike especially would have lost his mind. Bags would have probably saved it and posted it. But because I look so much different. Long hair. I'm just standing wearing a Conor McGregor shirt, bro, looking like, oh my God, dude, we're taking a picture. And I didn't know what to do. Because I'm like, I don't want to.
This is even after Conor's. Like, was this after a fan expo? I was trying to figure out.
I followed because I could have sworn because I went to UFC 189 by myself because this was before Conor was big.
You went to 189
by myself because
I was there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then there was a secondary card the next day because it was during fight week, and so I was gonna go to it. I got tired, so I left. They had a Ultimate Fighter season finales on Sunday.
They had 3 events, didn't they?
Yeah,
89
Friday, Saturday. Yeah,
it was a weekend with the UFC Fan Expo.
Back when they did that, right? That's when I saw you. Yeah, and I was.
There was an expo on that one. This was November, right?
Oh, I don't remember. I'm so bad.
It was just the weekend felt like a fan expo, I guess, because
shit
was going on. That's what it was. Just it felt like that.
Yeah, dude, you had a legendary career in your own right. You knocked out Overeem. What was that like? Walk me through that.
That angry individual inside of me just felt like some, like, I don't want to say revenge, but like maybe it was revenge. I don't know. It was like, yeah, because he always came off to me when I grew up. But like, I always respected him. Like, he's legitimately one of the baddest strikers on the planet. Very good at MMA, but I always had that bully, cocky, too good for everybody attitude. So it was like he was what picked on me. He was like the bully, and I got to get a piece of him in the ring, and I let him know.
You sure did. Okay, I got one more, and then I'm gonna look for this picture because I think Bags wants it. Okay, you mentioned you were in the IFL. I forgot you were in the IFL. Wasn't that when Ultimate Fighter season 10 started, the heavyweight season, and they brought in Roy Nelson, who was the IFL champion at the time? How lopsided was that? Is that true?
What? The fact that he went to the Ultimate Fighter, and I didn't?
Because the IFL, well, I mean that too, but the IFL was already established. Like you were talking about, all your homies in there, all notable fighters already, and Roy Nelson was that champ in IFL. And so it seemed so lopsided when they let him go into that season of the Ultimate Fighter. Like the IFL was pretty legit, right?
Oh, you're giving Roy, like Roy was a ringer. You're like Roy was developed and he got put in the Ultimate Fighter. That's why he did so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I probably should have went for it that season, but there was, that's the thing about training camp. It's kind of what helped me develop my own gym and really, really try to develop a culture where we take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
at that gym, it was not like that. All I seen was guys of the same weight class want what the other guys got. And all we did was use each other. You know, not me, because I didn't really want it that way. And I had a kind of relationship with Tim where, like, I wanted Tim to win, because when Tim won, I was now training with the heavyweight champ, and he was like kind of ahead where, like, I wasn't there yet. So I wanted him to do the best he could. But guys that were in the UFC, in the same weight class, in the same top 5, they wanted each other. Like, they wanted to take each other out. And if you could pop somebody's camp, good. He's out of the way now.
Oh,
now
dirty.
I don't have to. Yeah, and there's a lot of that going on in all the weight classes. I hated people because of it. And, like, I was like really mean, and it was a different culture back then. Like, people would come out of town to train. We took pride in beating the living out of them. Like, they would give Pat $500 for the week, and they'd be gone by Wednesday. Like, and we were just like, yep. They're like, oh, they made it to Wednesday. Like, oh, no, good for them. Like, we try to do it on Monday if we could, and like sometimes it did. Like, I shit you not, it was crazy how many guys came there in the 5 years that I was there. How many people wanted to come and be a part of that gym? And some of them were very nice people, man. They paid money. They're just like, hey, we just want to learn this and that. And we're like, put your sparring equipment on. And it was like head kick. So it was brutal, man. It was a different culture. And I seen the top guys, you know, we thrived in it. We were just beating we were getting fed poodles and each other. So we were just there to get as good as we could. But it was really a mentality. We're like, you know, you weren't worried about anybody else.
For you to come out as nice as you did, it's pretty remarkable, dude.
So what else has been going on, Ben? How's your businesses? How's your gyms doing? How's life as champ? Is it any different now than it was? And also, we do want to invite you to the next Dirty Boxing show, which is
the only time he talks, he's quiet for 5 minutes and he talks about stuff with. By the way, it's promotion, man. You're good.
He's just trying to sell you, man.
Yeah. But you know, if you want to come and bring the belt,
when is it?
March 22nd.
March 22nd.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Big Ben and Yoel Romero go head to head in DBX.
You fight him.
You fight Yoel.
No, I want to see you. I want to see you wrestle him.
I'm gonna fight Mac.
Dude, he is trying to get me up. I don't know if my performance has slipped at work or what, but Bags is trying to get my ass kicked in some type of ring. He'll take any ring.
All right, for real, who's you all gonna fight?
He's fighting a guy named Raz Hilton.
Oh, this is done. This is happening.
This is happening. Yeah.
March 22nd.
Yes, sir.
March 22nd.
And there's some other really good fights on the card.
There's good fights on the card.
Is it a different venue?
Yes.
Much better, much bigger. The show is just going to be better all the way around.
Does it have the VIP area again?
Yes, but much better.
Keep that. You keep that. Better. That was good.
Yeah.
Yes, we will have it.
You got the table service. All.
Yep, and there will be a little bit of food. You can only have a little bit though. You can't be eating all the food, man.
They put my photos by all the food items.
Do not serve
the red square over my face, everything.
All right, real question though. We've been joking around the whole time. Serious question. Ben, what is it like for your wife now, right? That you are the title belt holder and all the women in Kenosha want to have with you?
Yeah, I don't think she's too worried.
She's a very confident woman. She good?
Yeah.
They say, Ben, will you rub your head on it? Will you put your head in there, Ben? Get your head in there, Ben.
The beard.
The
beard.
Look at, yeah, man. I feel like you sampling your tequila.
I'm not. I'm actually. This is how I am sober. I'm even more fun when I drink. I'm not allowed to drink.
Legally.
Yeah, you can turn quick. I'll give you that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Overdogs Podcast today. We had a great time with our guests, Paulie Malignaggi, Big Ben Rothwell, the heavyweight bare knuckle champion. He thinks he's next up to face the king of violence, and I will be the one taking that $25 million prize home. All right, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe. Overdogs Podcast. We out.